Today I'm going to talk about what is known in certain circles as the Hall of Faith. That is Hebrews 11. I'm going to go through the chapter because we can learn a lot about faith from Hebrews 11. I did the video Help My Unbelief previously, quite a while ago now. So this will build upon what I discussed in that video. The first verse of Hebrews 11 is quite a significant one. It says, "And belief or faith is the substance," and we'll look at that word, hypostasis, of what is expected, the proof of what is not seen. For by this the elders, the word there is presbyteros, obtained witness. Now, what does that mean? They obtained witness. It means that they obtained witness that they were righteous by their belief. We'll see that idea throughout Hebrews 11, that they were obtaining witness of the fact that they were righteous. So the word hypostasis, translated substance, we can see here it is a setting or placing under. That's one meaning. Thing put under the substructure or the foundation. That which has foundation is the second suggested meaning. And within that second suggested meaning, it says that which has actual existence, the substantial quality and the nature of a person or thing. And then this third meaning, the steadfastness of mind, firmness, courage, resolution, confidence, firm trust, assurance. So what it's saying is the belief or faith is the firm trust in what is expected. It's the foundation upon which that which is expected has reality. It says that it's the proof of what is not seen. So one's faith in something. We have faith in the word of Yehovah, for example. He promises certain things in the word. And so if we live our lives as if that is true, then that's a good example of what it is to have faith. It's a confidence in what is expected. That is what faith actually is. And we see an example of this coming from Pharaoh's servants in the Exodus. Moses said to Pharaoh on behalf of Yehovah, "See, tomorrow about this time I am causing very heavy hail to rain down, such as has not been in Mitzrayim from the day of its founding until now. And now bring your livestock to safety, and all that you have in the field. For the hail shall come down on every man and every beast which is found in the field, and is not brought home, and they shall die. Those among the servants of Pharaoh who feared the word of Yehovah made their servants and their livestock flee to their houses." So part of them fearing the word of Yehovah, that can only be when they believe the word of Yehovah, that it's true. So if Yehovah says that he's going to do something, say he says, next Tuesday it's going to rain, and then you make your plans around that idea. Maybe you were going to do something on Tuesday, but Yehovah said that it will rain next Tuesday. So you call off your plans because the rain would ruin them. That is the sort of thing that it's talking about when it says faith is the hypostasis of what is expected. It's that confidence, trusting in what is expected. Kind of, we see them altering their lives in accordance with the word of Yehovah, and that's really what it is to have faith in the word. That is what will lead to one's salvation, to believe that the word of Yehovah is true and to act in accordance with it. In 1 Peter 1, 6-8, we see an example of trusting in what is seen, the proof of what is unseen. It says, in which you exult, even though for a little while, if need be, you have been grieved by manifold trials, in order that the proving of your belief or faith, much more precious than gold that perishes and proven by fire, might be found to result in praise and respect and glory or esteem at the revelation of Yeshua Messiah, whom having not seen, you love, in whom you exult with unspeakable and esteemed joy, yet not seeing, but believing. So, or having faith in. So, we believe in that which we have not seen. We believe in Yeshua. I spoke in Help My Unbelief that a part of faith, an integral part of faith, is believing in Yehovah to do things that otherwise would seem impossible. And we'll see some examples of that in Hebrews 11. But the thing that we believe is we believe in the resurrection of Yeshua Messiah. And in that video, I went through how believing in that thing which is impossible will cause us to be raised on the last day. Our faith is an integral part of that, believing that we will be resurrected, because he has the power to resurrect Yeshua, and we believe he did resurrect Yeshua, and that belief is what will enable us to be resurrected on the last day. Hebrews 11 verse 3 says, by belief or faith we understand that the ages, and that word, however it's pronounced, were prepared by the word of Elohim, so that what is seen is not made of what is visible. And that word is olam in Hebrew. So the olam were prepared by the word of Elohim is what it would say. So we don't know exactly what the author of Hebrews was saying here. By having died, he still speaks. To me, it's saying that he still has an impact even though he's dead. His impact is still felt. It's reminiscent of when it said that his blood cried out to Yehovah. I don't think that is literal. I think it's saying that it spoke to Yehovah that he had been killed. Having died, he still speaks now in the lives of Yehovah's people, bringing a greater sacrifice than Cain by belief. We don't know exactly what that means. Was it that he was a keeper of sheep, so bringing a sheep was a much bigger thing than just bringing some vegetables like Cain did? We don't know, but we do know that him bringing that sacrifice, the better sacrifice, he did it by belief or in belief. Hebrews 11 verse 5 says, by belief or faith, Henoch was translated so as to not see death. that's Enoch, and was not found because Elohim had translated him. For before his translation, he obtained witness that he pleased Elohim. So the fact that he pleased Elohim is significant here. Also, the fact that he did not see death. And I think people misunderstand what it's saying here. Like, he didn't die, his physical body didn't die because Elohim took him up to heaven. I know what some people believe that this means, but to explain it from the scriptures, if we're going to talk about by belief, he was translated. Before his translation, he obtained witness. And going back to the beginning, it said that the elders, all these people here, obtained witness by their faith. Romans 8:7-8 on how to please Elohim. Because the mind of the flesh is enmity towards Elohim, for it does not subject itself to the Torah, neither indeed is it able. For those who are in the flesh are unable to please Elohim. So if you don't subject yourself to the Torah, then you are unable to please Elohim because you're still walking after the flesh rather than your spirit, which agrees with the law that it is good. So it was by his faith that he obtained witness that he pleased Elohim. To please Elohim is to subject yourself to him. So what about not seeing death? John 8:51 says, Truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he shall never see death at all. So it is talking about the same thing. Subjecting yourself to the Torah of Elohim, keeping the word, they're both the same thing. And that will please Elohim, and you will not see death as a result of it. Just like Enoch, it wasn't some mystical thing that happened to Enoch. It will happen to all of us. Hebrews 11 is it is showing that it was by faith that people in what some people would call the Old Testament, that they obtained witness that they were righteous, just the same as us. It's showing that there is no difference between then and now. Hebrews 11:6 says, Without belief or faith it's impossible to please him. For he who comes to Elohim has to believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who earnestly seek him. Okay, so it's impossible to do the Torah, to keep the word without faith or belief, because naturally in our flesh we want to do other things. So it's only by belief in the word that we do the word instead of what our flesh tells us to do. Without that belief, it's impossible to subject yourself to the Torah or to do the word. Hebrews 4:2 shows us, it's talking about the Israelites in the wilderness. It says, the word which they heard did not profit them, not having been mixed with belief or faith. So it's important for us to have that faith in the word. And if we go to verse 11 in Hebrews 4, let us therefore do our utmost to enter that rest, lest anyone fall after the same example of disobedience. So disobedience is not having belief or faith. The word which they heard did not profit them, not having been mixed with belief or faith. And this is an example of disobedience. Okay. To obey the word again requires faith. To please Elohim, that requires faith. Without faith, you will be unable to please Elohim. You're unable to do the things that are asked of you because your flesh wants to do something else. So to choose to do what Elohim says rather than what your flesh says takes faith. 1 Peter 2 verse 7, we see, for you who believe is contrasted with those who are disobedient. So again, belief and disobedience are juxtaposed with each other. John 33:36 says, he who believes in the Son possesses everlasting life, but he who does not obey the Son shall not see life. So belief and obedience again are parallel here. In Hebrews 11 verse 7, it says, by belief or faith Noah, having been warned of what was yet unseen, having feared, prepared an ark to save his house. So we see that having been told of something that will happen by Elohim, Noah prepared for that thing which was yet unseen, just like the servants of Pharaoh did after Noah, by which it says, through which he condemned the world and became an heir of the righteousness which is according to belief or faith, which is what is accessible for all people. It was the covenant made with Abraham that his faith would be accounted as righteousness, and that has been true for all people since Abraham, that if you display faith, then that makes you righteous in Yehovah's eyes. If when Yehovah speaks, you believe him and you act according to that, like Noah did. He said, I'm going to bring a flood on the earth. Would have seemed like quite an incredible thing. The whole earth is going to be flooded. But Noah didn't question it. He didn't ask, how can this be? What he did is he prepared the ark to save his family. It says that he condemned the world, which is interesting. We could speculate that that is because once the righteous have been removed, then the flood can come, or once Lot had been removed from Sodom, then the destruction could come. We could speculate that that's what's meant, but again, we don't have the benefit of knowing for certain. Hebrews 11, 8-10 says, by belief or faith, Abraham obeyed. So it is by belief or faith that you obey. So obedience and belief and faith are paralleled here. So to obey requires belief or faith. Obedience is an outgrowth of faith. They're not synonymous. Like it, if you have belief, you will obey. But obedience and belief or faith are not synonymous exactly. Belief or faith is a larger category than just obedience. But Abraham believed by belief, obeyed by belief rather, when he was called to go out to the place which he was about to receive as an inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going. Yehovah said, go out, and he did. He didn't know where he was going. I'm sure he felt uncertain about the future, but he just did what Yahovah told him to do. By belief or faith he sojourned in the land of promise as a stranger dwelling in tents with Yitzchak and Yaakov, the heirs with him of the same promise. And it is by belief or obedience that we do something very similar. At the Feast of Sukkot, we dwell in tents for 7 days. Why? Because Yehovah said to do it. Not because it makes sense to us, not because it's convenient in our lives, but we go and we dwell in tents. For Abraham, I'm sure it was quite a scary situation going to the land of the Amorites and dwelling among these pagan people as opposed to dwelling among his father's household, who at least knew the name Yahovah. They knew who Elohim was. The Amorites were a violent people. Dwelling among them just because Yahovah had said, that's going to require belief or faith that Yahovah is with you. For he was looking for the city having foundations whose builder and maker is Elohim. So what Abraham was looking for, whether it means that he knew that that was the future, or whether it means that's what was inside of Abraham, that this world wasn't anything to him, we don't know. We could speculate, but Abraham, he obeyed Yahovah because he was looking for something greater, something which is beyond, something which is unseen, something that he has faith in. So Yahovah said to him that he will make of him a great nation, and that is what he believed. And he went out to this, must have been a scary place, or at least a place that would be scary if Yahovah had not sent you there. Hebrews 11:11-12 says, by belief or faith also, Sarah herself was enabled to conceive seed, and she bore a child when she was past the normal age, because she deemed him trustworthy who had promised. And so from one, and him as good as dead, that's Abraham, who was 99 years old at the time, were born as numerous as the stars of heaven, as countless as the sand which is by the seashore. So Sarah was told that she would conceive in her old age, and because she deemed Yahovah trustworthy, she was enabled to bear Isaac in her old age. Again, it's that thing which is impossible, which is believed, and then Elohim acts in that situation. In Mark 6:4-6 it said, and Yeshua said to them, a prophet is not appreciated except in his own country. Is not underappreciated, rather, except in his own country and among his own relatives and in his own house. So I take that to be by those who are familiar with him. And he was unable to do any miracle there, except that he laid his hands on a few sick ones and healed them. Unable to do any miracle there. He marveled because of their unbelief, their disbelief, their unbelief, their lack of faith. And he was going around among the villages teaching. If we consider Matthew's account of this, we go to the Hebrew Matthew, it says, then he did not wish to do there any sign because of their little faith. That's different from what we have in the Greek, not wishing to do there any sign because of their little faith. Yeshua, it seems, when you read the accounts of him acting because of people's faith, it does accord with this idea, the idea that he wished to do a sign for those who believed. Hebrews 11:13-16 says, "In belief or faith all these died, not having received the promises, but seeing them from a distance, welcomed and embraced them as if they were real," because they were real. They believed what they were told and confessed that they were aliens and strangers on the earth. For those who speak it this way make it clear that they seek a fatherland. And yet if they had indeed kept remembering the place from which they had come out, they would have had the chance to return. But now they long for a better place, that is, a heavenly. Therefore Elohim is not ashamed to be called their Elohim, for he has prepared a city for them. So this is the choice that people have when they come to the word of Elohim. Those who don't believe it will just act in their best interests, in their mind, in the moment. Those who do believe it see the warnings of Elohim, that they will be destroyed if they act in a particular way, and they avoid that behavior and they seek to please Elohim. They seek to do the things that he says to do, which is why you can't fake belief before Elohim, and why he tests one's belief. Because when you're given a situation where it's difficult for you to do what the word says to do, then if you believe the word, you will do it regardless, because you believe that Yehovah is real. If you don't believe the word, then you will do whatever your flesh would have you do. It's very simple. You can't fake that. When you're tested, you cannot fake having belief, because if you don't have belief, then you won't act against your own best interests as you see them. We see this with Abraham. By belief or faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Yitzchak, and he would receive the promises, offered up his unique son, of whom it was said, "In Yitzchak your seed shall be called," reckoning that Elohim was able to raise even from the dead, from which he received him back as a type, like a picture, an image of Yeshua. He acted in that faith that Elohim was able to raise him from the dead, which is the same faith that we have regarding Yeshua, which is what enables us to be raised from the dead. Those who are of belief will be raised from the dead. Abraham reckoned that he was able to do that, so he was prepared to kill his son. Again, it's a situation, if you don't believe in Yehovah, the idea of killing your son would be absurd. But if you do believe in him, then you reckon him able. Well, I don't know what he's doing, but he is able to raise him from the dead. I believe in Yehovah. So if that's what is going to happen, that's what's going to happen. I will offer up my son, then Elohim raises him from the dead. I don't understand what it is that Elohim is doing, but I trust in him, whatever it is, whatever comes next. And Abraham could have had no idea that he was going to be told to stop. Elohim saw that he was prepared to offer up his son in faith, in belief, in obedience to what Yahovah had told him to do, because he understood who Yahovah was. Hebrews 11:20-21 says, by belief or faith, Yitzchak blessed Yaakov and Esav concerning that which was to come. By belief, Yaakov, when he was dying, blessed each of the sons of Yosef and did reverence on top of his staff. Now that's very interesting. You may have wondered before how it was that the words spoken by old men before their death of the blessings which would come upon their sons actually came to be. Did they have some magical power? Well, no, but it tells us here that they spoke these things in belief, and Yehovah responded by bringing those things about. When you speak something over somebody, if you believe this is what will happen, then that is what will happen. If you are asking things that are in accordance with Yahovah's name, obviously in the Torah, in the book of Genesis, we don't see it explained at all. It's just he blessed whoever it was, the sons of Joseph or Jacob or Esau, and then we see those things come to be later in their lives. It's only here in the letter to the Hebrews that it's explained that it was their belief or their faith. So exactly what they had belief in is unclear. I presume that it was they had faith that if they spoke that blessing, that is what would come to be, that they believed that, and therefore it is what came to be. That's a presumption, though. Hebrews 11:22 says, by belief or faith, Yosef, when he was dying, made mention of the outgoing of the children of Israel and gave orders concerning his bones. So we've got an example here of somebody who has been told something is going to happen, and he acts in accordance with it. He says, when you leave, take my bones with you. To him, it is a done deal. When you leave, take my bones with you. In Hebrews 11:23 it says, by belief or faith, Moshe, having been born, was hidden 3 months by his parents because they saw he was a comely child and were not afraid of the king's command. Now, this is an interesting verse. Again, if the letter to the Hebrews was written in Hebrew, then this is a translation. In the Hebrew it says 3 moons. When that is rendered into Greek, whoever has translated it has just used the word for month, which makes sense because in that culture a moon was a month, but the Hebrew word chodesh is interpreted into the Greek as, or rather the Hebrew word yeriach, moon, is interpreted into the Greek as month. The idea that he was writing to the Hebrews in Greek doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. If this was written in Hebrew, it would say he was hidden 3 Yeriachim. But we see that it's by belief or faith that his parents, Moshe's parents, hid Moshe. Again, they're doing something that will get them killed. They're doing something very serious. but it's through belief or faith in Yehovah that they are doing these things. And the same should be true for us. It makes me think of Daniel's friends when they were about to be cast into the furnace, and paraphrasing, they said, well, if Yehovah wills, he's able to save us from this. But if he doesn't will, then it's fine. We will just die. We see a similar thing with Moshe's parents. They, in belief or faith, they hid Moshe from the Pharaoh, which would presumably be a death penalty sort of thing. Hebrews 11:24-26 says, by belief or faith, Moshe, having become great, refused to be called the son of the daughter of Pharaoh, choosing rather to be afflicted with the people of Elohim than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a time, deeming the reproach of Messiah greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he was looking to the reward. So Moshe thought it was of greater value to be rebuked or reproached by the word of Elohim than it was to enjoy the pleasures of sin. Only one who truly believes the word would operate in a way that in the moment wasn't to their advantage, because they were looking for that which was as of yet unseen. He refused to be what would have been royalty, or what was royalty in Egypt, to be a part of the Hebrew people. He deemed that basically the telling off of Messiah, or the word, telling him where he was wrong, was of greater value than all of the pleasures of the flesh which could have been his in Egypt. And that's what belief or faith is. Again, you can't fake that. If somebody offers you something which is greatly beneficial in the moment, you can't fake faith and say that you believe in Yehovah's word over what immediately is gratifying to you. Because if you don't believe it, then of course you're going to go with whatever it is that tempts you. Hasatan will come with myriad things to tempt you and say, well, do you want this thing, or do you want to walk in accordance with the word? Do you want that which is perhaps immediately to your detriment, or do you want this thing which is immediately pleasurable? Hebrews 11:27-29 says, by belief or faith he left Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he was steadfast as seeing him who is invisible. By belief or faith he performed the Pesach, and the sprinkling of blood, lest he who destroyed the firstborn should touch them. By belief or faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, and when the Egyptians tried it, they were drowned. Okay, so that is all quite interesting. If you were living in Egypt, the Pharaoh was quite a fearsome figure. To just defy Pharaoh and to leave would be quite a fearful thing. But Moshe acted as though Yehovah was with him, because of course he was. He acted as if he could see Yehovah. He acted as if he was real to him. So he acted in belief. or faith. By belief or faith, he performed the Passover. He did the sprinkling of blood, that which would have seemed pretty bizarre because he believed Yehovah. He did without question. Interestingly, it says that it was by belief or faith that they passed through the Red Sea. I imagine that if you were actually there, it would be quite a terrifying thing to have walls of water on either side and to pass through. But because of belief in Yehovah, they were unable to do it. It seems that when the Egyptians tried, they were drowned. I imagine that they did not have the faith in Yehovah, that maybe they were scared, that they doubted what was keeping the waters apart. So when they tried it, they drowned. Hebrews 11:30-31 says, by belief or faith the walls of Jericho fell, having been surrounded for 7 days. By belief or faith, Rahab, the whore, did not perish with those who did not believe, having received the spies with peace. So, we're given all of this extra context in the book of Hebrews, that it was by belief or faith that the walls of Jericho fell, that Rahab, the whore, the prostitute, did not perish. Again, she was putting herself in a dangerous situation to hide the spies. So it makes sense that it was by belief or by faith that she did so, because it wasn't to her advantage to do that. The only reason that someone would put themselves in danger like that would be belief or faith that it was the correct thing to do, at least. Hebrews 11:32-38 says, and what more shall I say? For the time would fail me to relate of Gideon and Barak and Shimshon and Yiftach, also of David and Shemuel and the prophets, who through belief or faith overcame kingdoms, worked righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the power of fire, which I presume is a reference to Daniel's friends, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, became mighty in battle, put foreign armies to flight. All things which would be impossible to our natural reckoning. By faith, these things happened. Women received back the dead by resurrection. Others were tortured, not accepting release to obtain a better resurrection. If you're being tortured, the natural thing to want to do is to accept a release from it. It would only be a strong belief or faith which enabled you to endure through the torture. You can't fake that faith or that belief, because when you're being tortured, if you don't believe the word, then you're just going to go with whatever the people torturing you are saying that you should do. It would be very strong belief or faith which caused one to endure through that. Others had trial of mockings and floggings, and more of chains and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were tried, they were sawn in two, they were slain with the sword, they went about in sheepskins and goatskins, being in need, afflicted, mistreated, of whom the world was not worthy, wandering in deserts and mountains and caves and holes of the earth. because they were looking for the promises of Elohim. So all of these things that we would think of as inducements to go another way, to make oneself comfortable, or whatever the situation is, because they had faith. That is what was above all of those things. That is what kept them going, I imagine, through all of those things, because they had faith in Yehovah. Hebrews 11:39-40 says, "And having obtained witness through the belief or faith, all these did not receive the promise." So they died before they had actually received the promise, because Elohim promises that we will be resurrected. Elohim having provided what is better for us, that they should not be made perfect apart from us. So that is how the elders received witness, by their belief. Belief is the substance of what is expected, the proof of what is not seen. So when you are going about in your lives, you've got that question: do I break the word of Elohim, or do I believe the word of Elohim? The word says certain things that you might find challenging, but you've got that question: do you believe what the word says, or are you what is translated into English as a hypocrite? Do you just act as if you believe? Yehovah willing, I'll see you next week.